Members of the Altoona Police Department arrested Luigi Mangione.
Well, police apparently have their man. 26-year-old Luigi Mangione is in custody over the shooting of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. So in this video, I'm going to go over whatever details have come out so far. We are early into this, so I'm sure more will come after I finish recording this video. But I'll share with you what we have so far, which includes complicated politics. So we're talking about somebody who is an Ivy League grad in computer science, is discussed wanting to work in AI, but also has posts critical of AI, is in some posts sounding anti-capitalist, but in others he's retweeting Elon Musk and Tucker Carlson. Like a lot of people, his politics appear to be complicated and really doesn't appear to be the motivation here. And it more has to do with some of his views around healthcare, which have become clear as he was arrested with some of those views on him. First, let me play this video from CBS News. This is the NYPD discussing the suspect.
Earlier this morning in Altoona, Pennsylvania, members of the Altoona Police Department arrested Luigi Mangione, a 26-year-old male, on firearms charges. At this time, he is believed to be our person of interest in the brazen targeted murder of Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare, last Wednesday in Midtown Manhattan. The suspect was in a McDonald's and was recognized by an employee who then called local police. Responding officers questioned the suspect, who was acting suspiciously and was carrying multiple fraudulent IDs as well as a U.S. passport. Upon further investigation, officers recovered a firearm on his person, as well as a suppressor, both consistent with the weapon used in the murder. They also recovered clothing, including a mask consistent with those worn by our wanted individual. Also recovered was a fraudulent New Jersey ID, matching the ID our suspect used to check into his New York City hostel before the shooting incident. Additionally, officers recovered a handwritten document that speaks to both his motivation and mindset. NYPD detectives are en route to Pennsylvania as we seek to interview the subject further.
The first thing that stood out to me here is, how did the employee recognize him? Like all we've had to work with is that one image of his face and then other images of just his eyes. A lot of people look like that just based on that blurry image and the eyes. So to be like, oh, that's him. Very, I don't know, just it seems like a random but unique scenario. So he had on him a what's called a ghost gun, assembled from parts that may have been made from a 3D printer. Mangione was also carrying a handwritten manifesto that criticized healthcare companies for putting profits above care. I'll get to a specific quote from that from CNN in a second here. And he was born and raised in Maryland and has lived in San Francisco and in Honolulu, which we will see in an image shortly. But so the note apparently said, "These parasites had it coming. I do apologize for any strife and trauma, but it had to be done." He is apparently one of 6 kids, graduated as valedictorian from Gilman School in Baltimore, where he played soccer, according to the New York Post. The boys school in Baltimore, where tuition is currently more than $37,000 a year, acknowledged in a letter to his community that Mangione was an alumnus. And there's also a video online of his valedictorian speech. I don't think it's relevant here to show, a high school speech, but it is out there. And his banner on Twitter is interesting. So Evan shared this out. Can't get over his banner, Pokemon, the surgery that most likely radicalized him, and a thirst trap. So unique combination of images there on his Twitter banner. We'll get to his Twitter profile in a second. So as I said, he's a computer science grad at Penn. And I'll link to this below. I assume Twitter will keep it up. I mean, this is Twitter under Elon Musk. There appears to be, they don't really care. There's no rules there. So I'm sure they will keep this up. But, Peter Thiel, like... There's a lot of, to retweet Peter Thiel, but then also be described as anti-capitalist by the New York Post. Again, like a lot of people's politics, they don't make a lot of sense. It's a lot of things that are complicated, or I should say, a lot of views that are counteracting each other that just don't really make sense in the grand scheme of things if you actually understand the positions of these sorts of individuals. But he's like most people. He apparently really likes McDonald's because this is another image of him from, I guess, a couple of years ago at a McDonald's or getting a Happy Meal. Very random. And Babs Gray here sharing this from the Twitter image. Luigi Mangione's Twitter header has this x-ray, and his Goodreads has these books. He must have gone through some kind of personal hell with insurance. So the books include Crooked, Outwitting the Back Pain Industry, and A Back Mechanic by Dr. Stuart McGill. He also had tweets like these where criticizing Japanese, or I should say, criticizing immigration in the context of Japan for some reason. But he's clearly not Japanese just based on his name. But the idea here, and I'm not going to read through all this, but you can read through it yourself. But essentially, criticizing the idea that no, immigration isn't the solution. It's cultural, and that they should ban some things to improve the Japanese culture and increase birth rates. Again, this is typically stuff that is down a right wing hole, but largely he doesn't seem far right either. Again, he just seems like a complicated mid 20-year-old male, which can explain a lot of them. What I find interesting, so he was apparently working at TrueCar full time as a data engineer, but scroll down through his LinkedIn page here. He worked on a video game, Civ 6. Look at that. Some random stuff in this guy's profile, I'm telling you. So like, I don't want to get too deep in some of this stuff because it's none of this is really, I think, important to ultimately what happened. But this may be important. He reviewed the Unabomber's manifesto. So giving it 4 stars out of 5. Goes on to use a quote here. A take I found online that I think is interesting. Had the balls to recognize that peaceful protest has gotten us absolutely nowhere, and at the end of the day, he's probably right. Oil barons haven't listened to any environmentalists, but they feared him. Worth noting as well, he has tweets that are, pro, or I should say, like environmentalist views, so critical of fossil fuel emitters, I suppose. But at the same time, like when you're retweeting people like Tucker Carlson, it's hard to take anything out of this except for somebody who just has complicated views on issues. But goes on to say, again, this is from a quote: when all other forms of communication fail, violence is necessary to survive. You might not like his methods, but to see things from his perspective, it's not terrorism, it's war and revolution. And he goes on, discussing fossil fuel companies here. So it's to I don't know, give the Unabomber's manifesto a 4 to 5 is may lead to the idea of or may give some credence to what the motivations are here. But that's all that's really out right now. Again, there's stuff that's continues to come out because he does have online profiles, of course. But complicated person, clearly. And I'm sure we're going to hear more as the investigation continues.